Almost everyone goes through the things that I'm about to narrate in this video, but only a few people are able to talk about them. In 2021, I quit my job, but before I go any further, I want to mention though that you shouldn't leave your job before having another job lined up or having any sort of financial plan in place. We've all learned from the pandemic that job security is not a thing anymore, and that there is room for creativity and being productive. That's one of the reasons some people consider when leaving their jobs, to try out new things, whereas others have several reasons for quitting. But the number one reason is that many times people find themselves unhappy at their workplace. In 2021, I ended up being one of the unhappy people at work, and I thought that maybe I was the only one, but I wasn't. Many times, we find ourselves unsatisfied with either the pay rate or the benefits, but the majority of us end up not being happy with the way we are treated. That feeling of being treated like you are just a number and you can be replaced at any time, and that feeling of not being appreciated for your hard efforts and dedication into your position, and yet you see other people doing similar tasks just like you, getting recognized regardless of their performance metrics, but you don't. All of this can be overwhelmingly unfair, and this is when I realized that I wake up every morning to show up at work, but only end up feeling less important than others on the team and getting blamed for something that someone else did. When I tried to say something, it ended up making my work life complicated. And at the end of the day, I told myself that I was just there for a paycheck, but not my growth. This was a sign for me that I should find something else to do, but I was afraid to lose that paycheck. That fear alone can end up making you feel like you are tied onto a golden chain until you decide to free yourself. Because if you don't do it, no one is gonna do it for you. But I tell you what, I refused to be belittled simply for the sake of a paycheck and looked into other ways of how I could make ends meet while figuring out what I want to do with my life. Work anxiety. I developed work anxiety from just work alone simply because I had someone that micromanaged me all the time. We are all not perfect and we all make mistakes which we live to learn from, right? But for my case, having someone that was always on my back made my working conditions a little bit difficult. I still remember when I was kindly asked by my manager if I would like to have my emails checked before sending them out to customers to correct my English, which was probably fine because I thought that the manager wanted to help, right? But then, at the end of the day, my manager ended up using this against me, and I ended up getting in trouble for that. And I was told by the same person that I lacked confidence and maybe I didn't know what I was doing because I was sending emails to my manager all the time to check them and approve them first before I sent them out. By then, I had worked for the same organization for almost 4 years, but no one, not even the customers, had ever complained about my so-called English. But someone eventually decided to get obsessed with it. There was nothing wrong, but this only ended up making things worse for me because I ended up being confused and not understanding what they wanted me to do exactly. I developed bad sleeping habits where I ended up just having sleepless nights just so that I can worry about my future, of my position at work, and the person that I would run into during the next work meetings, or even their criticisms towards me. I lived in constant fear of losing my job, which affected my work performance and confidence in my position. And this ended up becoming a health issue that I decided to take a break from so that I can work on myself. Nepotism at work. You've probably tried to apply for a position several times from the same company where you work, but then it always ends up being given to someone else, regardless of their experience or qualifications, even if the job posting says priority is given to internal employees first. And you've asked yourself that why certain positions and recognitions are easily awarded to certain people, and some people move up the ladder very quickly regardless of their efforts and experiences. And that's called nepotism and favoritism, which unfortunately ended up becoming common where I worked, and I watched some people being favored over others regardless of experience and qualifications, or even their work ethics. And this was because, well, the hiring person was a friend or a relative to the other person. And sometimes physical appearance mattered. And yes, you've heard that right. Promotions were not given based on merit, mostly, and even those that had been in the company longer had to work harder and longer to prove themselves than others. This not only created a toxic work environment, but also led to employee dissatisfaction and a low employee retention. This was a turning point. I realized that I was never gonna find whatever I was looking for from a corporate world, and I decided to go find it somewhere else. If you like this video so far and it resonates with you or relates to your current situation, give it a thumbs up and comment below your #1 reason for quitting. Job security. By now, ladies and gentlemen, at least you all know that regardless of where you are working, you have no job security. Well, at least this is something I don't believe exists today. But if it does, then maybe it's to a small extent, right? Your job could be taken away from you at any time due to unforeseen circumstances or reasons, and sometimes no reasons. The fact that there are so many changes happening at my workplace constantly puts some people at a risk of losing their jobs, and it resulted into periodic falloffs. This was a sign of instabilities, and it was from this time I started to worry that maybe my time would be coming pretty soon, and therefore I had better think and plan to work on something else before it would be too late. And finally, despite everything I've mentioned, at the end of the day, I also realized that I needed to take a break from everything just to work on myself, fix my mental health that deteriorated, and figure out what I would want to do with my life going forward. My plan now is to continue doing rideshare. It's not perfect, but at least I have some form of control that I didn't have when I was working in a cubicle or when I was still reporting to a manager. I plan to continue doing this to be able to keep up with the bills while crafting a new skill or a talent to be able to do what I love as long as it fulfills my purpose, and to build something for the long term that no one will ever be able to take away from me. Well, at least not so easily, right? Folks, you see, Some things are not just for everyone, and it's not like a one size fits it all. It will never be your work's responsibility to make you and me happy. But if you're able to find a reason that makes you happy wherever you work or in an environment that treats everyone equally without hidden culture or agendas, and it fulfills your purpose, then pat yourself on the back and hey, celebrate that achievement, because it's very rare to find places like that. Alright, and that's it for this video. But if you're interested in supporting me, subscribe to this channel. And thanks for sticking around. My name is Godfrey. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.